Okay, ready to dive deep. Today, it's all about mastering those tricky emotions.
Sounds like a plan.
We're taking excerpts from Thibaut Murese's Master Your Emotions. Really practical stuff, getting a grip on how our feelings work, managing them better, all for a happier life.
Exactly. Who doesn't want a bit more happiness?
Right. And you always hear, happiness comes from within, but Murese takes it a step further. Only 10% influenced by outside stuff.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. That new car, that vacation, might not be the happiness booster we think. Makes you wonder what really matters, huh?
It does. Makes you rethink things. But before we get to happiness itself, maybe we should tackle why we struggle with the not so happy feelings, the negative ones.
Good point. Gets you down before you can even start being happy.
Right. Murese talks about this evolutionary hangover.
Evolutionary hangover. Okay, now I'm curious.
Picture our ancestors, right? Constant danger. Their brains wired to focus on threats, like remember that saber-toothed tiger encounter so it doesn't happen again.
So, negativity bias. Keeps you alive back then.
Exactly. Problem is, our brains haven't caught up to modern life. That's why your boss's criticism.
Feels like life or death, even though it's just a comment.
Spot on. Murese helps us reframe this. It's not a tiger about to pounce, even if it feels that way.
Okay, so when my email crashes, I lose a morning's work,
Uh-huh.
and I'm disproportionately upset.
That's the cave person and you freaking out.
Wow. It's not me being dramatic, it's evolution. Kind of comforting to know it's not just me.
Right. And if you understand this, apply it at work relationships. That's powerful stuff.
It is, like a new lens on my reactions.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, Meurisse also talks about happiness directly, yeah.
Ugh.
We all want it, but
It's elusive, right? We chase those dopamine rushes. Delicious food, new gadgets. That's where the dopamine trap comes in.
ooh, yeah, I've been there. You need that next thing to be happy. That's not going to last, is it?
Nope. New phone, temporary high, then it fades. You adapt back to baseline. Hedonic adaptation, it's called. Get used to the good stuff. Need more to feel it again.
So chasing the next high, recipe for not being happy.
Mm.
Bummer.
It can be, but here's the hopeful part. Happiness, it's like an equation. 50% genes, 40% your internal state. Only 10% that external stuff.
Hold on. That fancy car I want?
Yeah.
Only 10% of my happiness. That's mind-blowing. Changes how you see things.
It does. Shifts the focus inward. Cultivate happiness from within.
Empowering. But what about when you do feel stuck in a bad mood, even knowing it's mostly internal, like you wake up grumpy and can't shake it?
Murese has this great analogy. Emotions are like visitors, like weather passing through.
Okay, I like that. You don't fight the rain. You grab an umbrella, wait it out.
Precisely. Don't get swept away, like Penelope's rushing in the morning, spills coffee all over.
Disaster. But instead of ruining her day,
She takes a breath. Annoying, but it'll pass.
subtle but huge difference, accepting instead of resisting.
And here's the thing. Even negative emotions, they can be useful signals.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Feeling disappointed after a setback, that can motivate you. Anxious before a presentation, you prepare more.
So it's a message, not just a bad feeling to drown in.
Exactly. And key point, feeling something doesn't mean you are that emotion. Feel sad doesn't equal being defined by sadness.
Important distinction. Separate the feeling from who you are.
Yes, and Murese is very clear, feeling depressed, not the same as having depression. Big difference.
Right, that's comforting to know. Doesn't make it a bigger deal than it is. But how do we stop these feelings from spiraling? One bad thing, suddenly everything feels doomed.
The downward spiral. Murese has some great strategies for that.
Okay, I need those. I know that spiral too well. Spill my coffee, the whole day is ruined.
So relatable. He gives the example of Sophia, called out for a mistake at work and immediately.
I always mess up, I'm incompetent, that whole thing.
Yep, downward spiral in action. But the key is, Sophia, she recognizes the pattern instead of getting lost in it.
Okay, awareness is step one.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you actually change the thought pattern?
She challenges those assumptions. Hold on, this is my negativity bias talking. Everyone makes mistakes. One error doesn't mean you're incompetent.
More balanced perspective instead of self-criticism.
Right. Maybe she even focuses on past successes, reminding herself, I've done great things too.
Not denying the mistake, but bigger context.
Exactly. Shifting the internal narrative. And Murese suggests an emotion journal for this.
Oh, like a logbook for your feelings.
Yep. Track your mood, what triggers you, see those patterns. We'll link some templates in the show notes.
Love that. I'm a big journaler. Tracking emotions sounds so insightful. And hey, remember how we said external stuff is only 10% of happiness? Seems relevant here.
Absolutely. We stress about things that barely matter in the big picture.
Wow, when you put it like that. So What are some of those unhelpful beliefs Murese challenges, the things we stress over that aren't worth it?
Big ones. Like, this is a problem. He talks about Katie losing her job. Instead of panicking,
She saw it as a chance for something new.
reframing the narrative, opportunity, not just a problem.
Love it. What else?
Societal pressures. Everyone says get married, have kids by a certain age.
But it's your life.
Exactly. You define what happiness is. And then fear of the future. Huge one.
Oh yeah, worrying about things you can't control anyway.
Meurisse says pointless. Focus on the NW, what you can control.
Stay present, that's key. So much anxiety from what ifs.
Right. It's about recognizing those unhelpful thoughts, choosing a different perspective.
Okay, this is great, but how do we actually do this? Letting go of the negative stuff. Murese gives some practical techniques, right?
He does a 4-step process. Observe, label, don't hold on, and techniques like the Sedona Method.
Okay, before the how-to, the why. Why is letting go so important? What happens if we cling to the bad stuff?
Great question. When we cling, we give it power. It defines us, controls us, limits us, like carrying around a heavy suitcase of rocks everywhere you go.
Wow, that image. So letting go is like,
Freeing yourself to move through life with ease and joy.
I like that. Okay, those 4 steps. Where do we start?
Observe the emotion, no judgment. Don't identify with it, just acknowledge it's there.
So if you're feeling stupid after a meal at work,
You say, I feel stupid, not I am stupid. Separate feeling from self.
like stepping back, becoming a curious observer of your own mind.
Exactly. And next, you label the emotion. Give it a name. Frustration, sadness, anxiety creates distance, helps you let go.
It's like you're taking its power away by just naming it.
You got it. Amazing how such a small thing can shift your whole perspective.
These are great, simple, but powerful. What's next?
Don't hold on. Murray says there are 2 main reasons we cling to negativity.
Okay, why would we do that to ourselves? Seems counterintuitive.
First, it reinforces our negative self-story. We look for evidence to confirm what we already believe about ourselves.
Oh, so it's like, if I think I'm incompetent, I focus on all the times I messed up, even if they're small.
Exactly. And second, we mistakenly think we are our emotions. They become our identity.
Right. I'm not my feeling of incompetence. I'm so much more than that. But it's easy to fall into that trap.
It is, but by practicing these steps, we can start to disentangle ourselves from those negative stories.
Okay, observed, labeled, not holding on. What's the final step in letting go?
This is where Murese brings in the Sedona Method, and that's a perfect place to pick up in part 2.
Ooh, a cliffhanger. All right, listeners, we'll be back soon to explore that Sedona Method and how it can help you master those emotions. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Last time we ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, talking about the Sedona Method for letting go of those pesky negative emotions.
It's a good one.
So remind us, what is the Sedona Method all about?
Well, think of it as decluttering your mind, getting rid of the emotional baggage that's weighing you down and holding you back.
Decluttering, I like that. We all need a bit of mental spring cleaning now and then.
Yeah.
How does this method actually work, though?
It's a surprisingly simple process, but powerful when you use it consistently. Murese uses this example of waiting in a long line. You know that feeling.
Oh, absolutely. Grocery store checkout on a Friday afternoon. The worst.
Right, so you're in this line getting more and more impatient. The first step is to just focus on that feeling.
So I'm naming it, like I'm feeling irritated.
You got it. No judgment, just acknowledging it's there. Then you ask yourself 3 questions. Can I let go of this feeling?
Okay, so in this case, can I let go of this irritation?
Exactly. Second question, can I allow it to be here? Just let it exist.
Can I allow this irritation to be here? Interesting.
And the third one, can I welcome it?
Can I welcome this irritation? Okay, these are getting progressively more challenging.
They are, but it's not about forcing anything. It's more like exploring your relationship with that emotion. See what feels possible.
I'm not trying to make it disappear, just seeing if I can open up to it in different ways.
Exactly. And as you ask yourself these questions, pay attention to what happens inside.
What do you mean?
Well, do you feel any resistance? Or maybe a sense of relief? Maybe even curiosity? Just notice those shifts.
Like becoming aware of the subtleties of what's going on inside instead of being overwhelmed by the initial feeling?
You're getting it. That awareness is key. What would you say comes next in the process?
Let's see. We've acknowledged the feeling, asked those 3 questions. What else is there?
The next step is simple but powerful. Ask yourself, when?
When what?
When can you let go of this feeling? And the answer is always now.
Okay, so no delaying gratification here.
Exactly. No waiting for the perfect time or the perfect conditions. Just let it go right here, right now.
Makes sense. But what if I try all that and I'm still feeling irritated? What if I can't just let go on demand?
That's where the final step comes in. Repeat the process. The magic of the Sedona method is in the repetition. The more you practice, the easier it becomes.
Okay, so it's like a mental workout. The more I practice letting go, the stronger that letting go muscle gets.
Exactly. Like anything else, practice makes progress. And you can do it anywhere, anytime. Stuck in traffic instead of road rage.
Try the Sedona method. Shift that feeling.
See? It's all about having tools for those tough emotional moments so they don't control you.
This is great. But we've focused a lot on dealing with the negative stuff. Emotions aren't always bad, though, right? Murese even said they can be guides.
He did. Remember Harriet, the woman who wasn't happy with her job or her city?
Yeah, but instead of ignoring those feelings, she actually listened to them.
And ended up making a huge change that led to more happiness. It's
Yeah.
like those feelings were trying to tell her something wasn't working, time for something new.
So powerful. But how do we know which emotions to listen to and which ones to let go of? Maybe even using that Sedona method.
Good question. That's where things get really interesting, and that's a perfect spot for us to pick things up next time.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring this idea that our emotions can actually be guides, not just problems to be fixed, with Thibaut Murese's Master Your Emotions. So how do we actually put this into practice?
Right. It's one thing to say listen to your emotions, but then it's like, wait, which H ones? Some are telling me to eat a whole cake? Probably not helpful.
Exactly. How do we know which ones are guiding us towards something good and which ones are, well, leading us astray?
Meurisse doesn't explicitly lay out a step-by-step for that in the book, B-U-T. He gives us a framework that can help. Remember, above the line, below the line. We touched on that before.
Oh, right. That was from the 15 Commitments of Cautious Leadership, wasn't it? It's been a while. Remind me what that's all about again.
Above the line is when you're coming from a place of self-awareness, responsibility, all that good stuff. Curious, open to other perspectives, owning your mistakes.
Okay, like you're grounded even if things are tough. And below the line is,
The opposite, reactive, defensive, blaming others, fear-based, ego-driven.
got it. So how does this help us figure out which emotions to actually listen to?
Think of it like this. When you're above the line, you're more likely to feel emotions that are, well, truer, maybe still challenging sadness, anger, even grief, but they come from a deeper understanding.
Okay, so it's not about pretending those negative feelings don't exist. It's about,
Experiencing them from a more aware place, and from there you can ask, what's this telling me? What can I learn here? How can this help me grow?
like there's signposts pointing you towards something better.
Exactly. But below the line, those emotions, they're more reactive, fear-based. Jealousy, resentment, defensiveness. More about protecting your ego than actually guiding you.
So those are the ones we might want to use the Sedona method on.
Yeah. They're often coming from those unhelpful stories we tell ourselves, not serving you, not leading you to your best self.
Makes sense. It's like having permission to figure out which feelings are worth holding on to, which ones to let go of.
Exactly. It's a practice, feeling that out. Not about being perfect at it, just getting better over time.
And speaking of practice, Murese has that emotion tracker, right? Seems like a
Oh.
good way to build that self-awareness muscle.
It's a great one. It's all about shining a light on your emotional landscape. Basically, you track your mood each day, just a simple rating, 1 to 10.
Okay, so I'm keeping a mood diary for a week. What then?
At the end of the week, you look back and ask some key questions.
Hit me with those questions. I'm ready to analyze my feelings.
Okay, first, what negative emotions did you feel? When? What triggered them?
The WAN and the WHY of the bad feels. Got it.
Then, how did you interpret those situations? Was it accurate, or was your negativity bias making things seem worse than they were?
Ooh, that's getting deep.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just go with your automatic thoughts, not even realize they might be wrong.
That's it. This makes you aware of those patterns so you can start changing them. And lastly, what did you do to manage those emotions? Did it work? What could you do differently next time?
Okay, so it's not just observing, it's planning for next time.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, the more you do this emotion tracker, the better you get at it. You start to recognize your triggers, your patterns, and choose better responses.
It's like we're training to be emotional ninjas, ready to handle whatever comes up.
I like that. And it's not just about you feeling better, it impacts your relationships too.
Oh, true. When you understand your own emotions, you can communicate better, set boundaries, all that.
Absolutely. Emotional intelligence. It's a superpower, not just for yourself, but for your connections with other people.
This has been amazing. We covered so much ground, from negativity bias to practical tools like the emotion tracker and the Sedona method. It's like a whole new way of looking at how we feel.
And the most important thing to remember, you are not your emotions. You get to choose how to respond. You have the power to master them, and that changes everything.
So empowering. Not victims of our feelings, we can shape our own experience.
Exactly. And the more we practice, the better we get at creating a life that feels good, a life that's meaningful.
I love that. So listeners, we hope this deep dive has sparked some ideas for you. Remember, mastering your emotions, it's a journey. Be kind to yourself, stay curious, and as always, keep diving deep. We'll be back next week with a whole new topic. Until then, stay curious, friends.